Why, hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Tuesday Wine of the Week tasting from Tipple's Brews and Wines. These are the owners, Elizabeth Vaudrey and Jeff Vaudrey. Thank you very much for joining us. This week, we are doing a comparative tasting, as I like to do about once a quarter. This week, Tempranillos are gonna flare. That's right. That's right. The Battle of the Crianzas. So we're going to be tasting a Rioja Spanish Crianza and a Ribero del Duero. So same grape, same country, two different regions within the country, and we'll get to taste. This is going to be an excellent exploration of terroir.
Okay.
All right. So, you know, the soil, the temperatures, the weather, altitudes, and see how it changes it, because both of these are 100% Tempranillo. They're not different blends.
Okay.
They have basically the same ratings. So it's a matter of, it's going to be taster's preference.
Okay.
Not that there's a winner and a loser tonight.
Okay.
I can't say that enough. So let's jump to the slides, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
We'll talk about food pairings. And then...
I wanted you to pour, but okay, we can jump to the slides.
No, we got to go to the slides first. Need to be a little more patient. Here we are. So 92 points, 92 points. It's a little hard to beat that. Pairings for these guys: roast pork, chorizo, roast mushrooms, barbecue, and sharp cheeses, or pretty much anything, because they're delicious.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It's what doesn't delicious pair with, but these are excellent. I think that everyone will really enjoy these wines. So let's jump back.
Okay.
And we will get to pour.
Okay.
So if you haven't already opened up your wines, now is the time. If someone hadn't, it would be the first time in a year. So
if they hadn't already opened.
I like to put a light chill, bring them down to 55 to 60 degrees. Just throw them in the fridge for about 30 minutes. And let's pour. We're going to start tonight, everyone, with the Iberico. We're going to start with the Rioja. Rioja first.
Oh, I'm going to go get something so we can mark our glasses so that I know which is good.
So I mentioned they're both 100% Tempranillo. There can be blending in both of the areas. If they blend, it's a very minor portion of the wine. So it would tend to be, 5–10% at most. The difference would be they do use different blending grapes if you're in Rioja versus if you're in Ribero del Duero. Ribero del Duero tends to use Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, kind of the French varietals, whereas there are more traditional but lesser well-known Spanish varietals that they blend in when they do in Rioja. However, it's a minor portion when it's utilized either way. But in this case, we're dealing with the pure guys. Also, to continue the parity of these wines, both of them 14.5% alcohol. So even the alcohol percentage is the same. So let's start with this beautiful Rioja Crianza. We'll get into what Crianza means later on. Smooth, really nice red fruits, kind of a nice cherry, a little bit of like a raspberry, and I could even go like a jammy strawberry, a little bit on that guy as far as going through the fruit.
Not yet.
I taste that more forward than like this jammy. Then when I swallow, I don't taste it as much.
I get that. I get more
Sure.
alcohol.
Yeah.
I get more fruit.
Then, and to me, on the finish, there's an herby quality. There's, kind of a nice green herb. I would go maybe a little bit of like a green peppercorn, sagey quality. And then there's a toasty quality to this guy.
So whenever I do this and I'm tasting, I'm like, what is it that I'm tasting? And then you say it like, that's what it is.
It's a 20 plus years of marriage to do that.
Yeah.
And pull it right out. I know what you're tasting.
It's like we need a list of options to pick from so that like we can nail it. Like, yes, that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But in anything you're hunting for, I mean, we can always just tease it out and talk it through. I mean, we do that all the time at the store when I'm blind tasting or
All
tasting.
those different things on it.
I'll just say it's reminding me of this, you know. Like I said, well, I'll go like a green herb. That's not specific. You kind of have to dig down from there and say, all right, I'm on the green side of herbs, not the brown. And you know,
I actually really like it.
I like that it's like the fruit forward, but not sweet.
Yes.
Like, a lot of the reds that you would, if you were describing as fruity, usually I'm going to be able to drink like a glass of it. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like now I want a real red wine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
you'll find like it's got a really nice tannin quality. It dries nicely on the finish, which I think is what Julie's talking about, which is what allows you to want to keep coming back for another sip. It's not a cloying buildup. It's a nice dry, little bit of grip on the finish, a little prickly, which could make it work very nicely with like a Boston butt or something like that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I get what like she's specifically saying too. Like it is not sweet. I wouldn't say sweet. At all,
No,
but
dry wines.
definitely fruit forward though.
Rioja requires dryness in their wines in the way that they're produced.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it was sweet, they would just throw it on the floor.
They wouldn't be allowed to call it a Rioja.
Oh,
They have to
okay.
call it.
Big sangria.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Right. It would just be something, it'd be made in Spain, you know,
Okay,
that
all
kind of
right.
thing. It would be, they wouldn't be able to call it a DO, Denominazione de Origin, you know,
Okay.
which reminds you a lot of the Italian and the Spanish different wine levels, classifications are very, very similar. It was a lot of fun during the sommelier testing.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we opened ours a while ago, but especially after it opened a little bit, I said her meal. I was like, cherry and peppercorn were like jumped out immediately. Maybe like a little bit of herbiness to it. I do think it's a little sweet, but I think it's not that much, but I think it's really just the red fruits that are coming out more so that, but I thought that way more when it first opened, and as it's opened up, I'm like, yeah, never mind. It's not really that much, but at first I was like, okay, I don't know. Yeah, maybe the jamminess that you mentioned.
Right, it's a little bit of that like raspberry, strawberry jam. I mean,
Yeah.
it has a real kind of richness of fruit, but it does have a lot else going on around it, and it dries very nicely. So, all right, so we have our initial thoughts about that one. Let's jump to Ribero del Duero. It's fun to say.
Jeff always says things like, as my people say, and then he says something in Spanish. Like,
That's right.
just trying to adopt my culture.
I love the culture, if I'm to be honest. All right, so like I said, exact same grape, different growing area, which we'll get into. And you can even take a look. Look at the comparison on the color on these guys. Not night and day, but there's a little more purple quality to the Ribero, as opposed to a little more crimson quality to the Rioja. And I'm immediately getting more black fruit on the nose. You know, blueberries, red plum, almost a dried fruit quality. In fact, a very, very intense, dark fruitiness. A voluptuous, sensuous kind of wine.
Not as tart as the other one.
What'd you say, Jerry?
I don't think it's quite as tart.
I agree, because my
Sure.
first taste of it, I felt like, oh, this one's like sweeter. It tastes more like juice.
Right, lower.
But as I'm having more of it, I'm not getting that juicy. But I don't know if it was because I was coming from something that was more tart, like Jerry said.
Well, Ribero del Duero tends to have lower acidity.
Oh,
So
okay.
acidity is going to be that tart. Tart's going to be that freshness, brightens up the fruit. This would be a little darker. Now, will it be offset by something? Bigger tannins, a little more grip.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
tannins. I get the tannins.
Tannins,
So,
for sure.
so you have this darker, richer, sensuous fruit, but then you've got bigger tannins, a little more grip to offset and play on your palate in a very different way.
Sure.
So here we have, I mean, this is the thing I love. I mean, does anyone here feel like you can't tell the difference between the two wines? Right? I think there's a significant difference.
It's bigger.
I wouldn't say I can tell the difference, but for you, it's probably much greater than for me, since you're a super taster. So, but I mean, I can taste the difference.
But right, there's, I mean,
Sure.
there's an easy difference, right? It's easy to say these are not the same wines. So, and that difference is the region, because by the way, also the same directing winemaking company.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
So, which I thought, I was like, I looked at all this pairing, I was like, I don't think that we'll ever have a better just comparison 1-to-1, but you can taste the difference in where it was grown.
So it's the terroir where it's grown that's making the difference? Okay.
Absolutely. And this is indicative of the style. So the Ibéricos is much more indicative of the Rioja style. It's a little more red fruit, more acidic. This is a Rioja Crianza that is made more for the American palate. So it is less acidic than some and a little more rich. It can be much more striking, the difference. But I do think it's entirely delicious, so I wanted to include it. And it still shows you the difference in there. You know, it's like red versus purple, and you know, that's kind of the thing. But I love Ribero del Duero as well, because it just has those bigger tannins and that big. I mean, to me, a lot of Americans would be all about the Ribero del Duero style. Not that they wouldn't be about this guy. This guy's, you know, the Ibéricos is delicious. There is no wrong choice. Everyone gets an A. So. On the others, we talked about the dark fruits on the Ribero del Duero. I didn't get into some of the other things. We talked about the tannins, a little more aggressive than in Rioja. As secondary qualities, how about coffee?
I feel like it helps.
Okay, I'm not getting coffee.
No? You can get like maybe a baker's chocolate
Okay,
kind of thing.
I could do
All
that.
right. Yeah.
She just said mocha, and I kind of agree with that. That does kind of have that like that kind of bitter chocolate coffee coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the difference immediately when because we poured a glass of one, then poured a glass of the other while we were cooking and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was like, the second I took a sip, I was like, oh my god, this is totally different thing. And I 100% agree that it's like is way more Americanized, you know, like it reminds me a lot more of like an American cab. You get a lot of these like dark fruits. It's very just big. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. It's big. It's big, dark fruit. It's got a nice structure to it. Well, anyway, so we've covered the initial. Let's go into where they're from and talk a little bit about why we might be tasting this difference.
Okay.
All right, next slide, please. All right, so here we are. This week we are drinking from right in the middle of the Northern Hemisphere growth zone. So no shocker there, no outlier. We're right where we should be. And then we'll talk about the different attributes that we have here. So going into Spain, I included this partly because we'll look at where we're drinking from this week. But you know, something that I've never pointed out before, look how much of Spain grows wine.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. What an amazing country for wine production.
It's funny because this map makes it look like Portugal doesn't produce any wine at all, but it's just specifically for Spain.
Right,
so.
exactly. Portugal does great work.
Yeah.
We will be drinking Portuguese soon.
Wow, that's
But look at that.
least half of the geography.
It's nothing
right?
like when you look at the United States, we have all these huge gaps.
Well, because their whole country is in that sweet zone. So
right. Yes, yeah, good point. So here we are. This is Ribero del Duero, and this is Rioja, where we are drinking this evening.
It's a higher elevation.
not far away from one another at all.
No, not too far at all. So here they are, kind of circled on the map, this wonderful map created by Wine Folly. Love those guys. I like, it's like, well, in case I didn't make it clear before, boom, here we go. Most of what we're drinking from Rioja is over here.
Yes, I know what it is.
And then Ribero is basically throughout that whole river valley. So here we have, once again, another look at where we are. There are 3 significant areas within Rioja, which is Rioja Baja. This is the lower elevation, Rioja Alta, and then Rioja Alavesa is actually mountainous. So it is the highest, even though the other one is called the Alta.
Okay.
And then Ribero del Duero is right around the Rio Duero, so the River Duero's valley. So it's a valley-oriented wine. Through mountains, though, significant mountains. The Ribero del Duero is actually a much higher elevation. So here we are, Ribero del Duero. So this was created as an official designated area of growth in 1982, so pretty recently. Their altitude is high. They started around 2,500 feet above sea level.
This is the second wine. or
This is the second
wine.
wine,
Okay.
right. So this
Okay.
is the higher out, the second wine, Ribero del Duero. You can see the River Duero,
Mhm.
and then the altitude is really high up in there. What we're drinking is from about 3,000 feet above sea level. And so that's why it's called the Celeste, which is a reference to the stars, because it's so high up, it's close to the stars.
Yes. As opposed to us at like 70 feet above
Yeah,
sea
right.
level or
Exactly
something
right. So Ribero del Duero has hot, dry summers, but very cold nights because of the altitude. They have a shorter growing season than Rioja, but enter Tempranillo. Tempranillo, which we'll get into a little bit more, the name comes from temprano, which is early in Spanish. So they're early ripeners.
Oh,
So when you have an area that may be finicky or have a smaller growing window, Tempranillo, boom, it's perfect for it. And it is a great grape as well. And then Rioja. So Rioja was the first area designated as a specific growing area in Spain, a DO. Like I said, denominaciones de origen. So hot summers, cold, wet winters, which allows them to strengthen their vines during the winters, and they don't have to water them. But they don't get the wet during the summer when it would really devastate the harvest. So, but they would be almost too hot in the summer, but they're so much farther north that they still get some of the oceanic breeze making it in. So the Ribero del Duero is able to handle it because of the altitude.
Right.
They, because of the oceanic breeze coming over.
Huh.
Other than that, very similar soil and, and very similar, climates with those very hot days. But those two are what makes it work. So, but two different things. One of them is altitude. One of them is the ocean breeze.
When we say very hot days, is it
100 plus.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
hot days.
Yeah, very
Okay.
hot. Yeah. Brutally hot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I talked to you earlier. I said I will explain what Crianza means. So Crianza is part of it basically was a quality of wine designation, though that isn't really an accurate total description of what it means, because it's really just telling you how long it's been aged. And so that isn't necessarily 100% indicative of quality. Just because it's been aged a certain amount of time, if it was garbage water going in and it's aged 17 years, it's still garbage water. So anyways, they've actually made an adjustment in 2018, but we'll get back to that. But Crianza means aged for 2 years minimal. Minimal aging, 2 years. Then we have the Reserva. So you'll see this in Riojas all the time. Crianza, Reserva, Gran Reserva. Reserva is 3 years, Gran Reserva is 5 years.
Okay.
And that's the basics of how that works. They're now actually beginning to break off and blend it in a way that works a little bit like France,
Mm-hmm.
where they're going to be designating areas of excellent wine production, primarily with the aging secondarily, rather than worrying about the other way around.
Okay.
Because the other way around doesn't necessarily say, like I said, it doesn't say there's quality grapes
Right.
going in. So, but this is traditional, and that is what we're drinking tonight. Both Crianzas, 2 years.
So to follow, like, if you're following France's lead and you're in Europe, it seems like maybe they're trying to get more recognition. I mean, they're right in that sweet spot for growing.
Oh, absolutely.
But they don't compete with France and Italy at all. I mean, like, they're not on the same level with France and Italy as far as production. I mean, we've seen that.
Yes, you're right. Traditionally, that is not considered the same. And this
Yeah.
is literally a move to fix
try
that.
and do
Because
that,
they
yeah.
should. They deserve to get more recognition. They make amazing wines in Spain.
Yeah.
And they should get the same recognition, and they haven't. And you're right. This is definitely a move to remedy that and to be able to showcase their best product.
Sure.
And it's also a kind of, we've talked about this a little bit. I'll tell you, the 60s and the 70s were an incredible, and maybe I just haven't seen the article yet, but I'm seeing bits and pieces from multiple different articles which have coalesced into my consciousness this week, right? Where I realized what a time that was because of international trade exploding all of a sudden, where people took volume and local production where they just were making it the same way for 300 years, and it wasn't maybe particularly good. And then they suddenly sent the first great grandchild to go be trained as an enologist.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden you're talking about this proliferation of much better wine.
Okay.
And we're going to see that with this family as well.
So all of a sudden it took a big jump
in quality. Yes.
Okay. Well, plus, I mean, some really, really great people were born in the 70s. You know, we just created a lot of great things in the 70s.
People just waiting to enjoy their work later on.
Exactly.
Ribero del Duero.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want me to?
Yes, let's jump back.
Have a drink.
He needs time to drink sometimes because he's educating the rest of us.
That's right. All right, Tempranillo. So Tempranillo comes in we're looking at two different colors tonight.
Absolutely.
It comes in a wide variety of colors. It depends on how ripe it became, how extracted the winemaker pulled, the juice out, how much skin contact afterward. But Tempranillo can exhibit an array of colors and intensities, and it can go from very acidic to, like this Ribero del Duero, not particularly acidic at all, just very rich. So it's a really great grape that has a lot of different abilities to be expressed. I tell you, it's right up there with Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir can be so different depending on where it's grown. Tempranillo has that great quality as well.
Because I hate some Pinot Noirs, but
you've loved the last two.
I love the last two, so there's a wide range.
So like I said, the great thing about Tempranillo is you're able to grow quality grapes in a shorter window of opportunity. Medium to heavy bodied. So we've had some of that kind of medium bodied to heavy minus, I would say, on the body. The acidity can be very high to almost none, like we've had in the Ribero del Duero tonight. And the tannins can run the gambit. So they can be, it's a very flexible grape. It can do a lot of things. Common notes: cherry, plum, tobacco, vanilla, and leather. So I think between the two, we're kind of hitting on, almost any in all of those guys. By the way, my Ribero del Duero, we talked about some of the wine descriptive terms, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but to me right now, smelling the Celeste, that is almost the definition to me of fruit leather, which is that whole thing about, the fruit skins and, maybe dried out. So when they use that, and that is not an uncommon term in the wine world, fruit leather, this is a great example. To me, it's like, you take a bunch of blueberry skins and you've dried them out, and then you lay them on your face. I'm going a little bit too horrible horror movie. Anyway, it will
You're
put
going to
the,
Silence of the Lambs.
it will put the wine in the
Yeah.
basket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
You know, we're doing a 2 wine night when when you make like horror movie
Yeah,
Yes,
right. Exactly.
exactly.
Especially me, because I
He
hate
doesn't
horror
like
movies.
horror movies, so I'm shocked.
Oh man, that herby quality is jumping right out of the glass on the Rioja. You know, is it? You know, I haven't revisited the glass. Not that I wouldn't revisit it. I would. Don't use my phrase against me. But as I go back, it's like this toasty vanilla and peppercorn combo. It's really delicious as it's been building up inside the glass. So tasty. I want some sausage.
I'm waiting to vote.
Yes. Okay.
Although I didn't do a poll ahead of time. Sorry, everybody. We'll just have to you'll just have to say which one
That's right.
you like.
All right, let's jump back over. We'll finish up with a few more slides.
Okay.
What do we have here? Okay, so this grape, we're talking about as a red, getting a lot of the intensity from the skins, but this is once again, like we talked about last week with the Italian Nero d'Avola, it's a little more distributed on this grape because you can get a lot of acidity from the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not overwhelmed by what's on the outer skin area
Okay.
because it can be, like I said, it's kind of all over the place. You know, this is a grape that has a lot of flexibility and gives the winemaker a lot of ability to make their vision, which I think is a lot of fun.
So with this grape, because we're talking two different terroirs, as far as the skin goes, is it thicker in one of these environments than in the other, or is it the same? It's just that you're plucking it sooner.
There's more wind in Rioja, but there's a little more struggle from the height in there. So
Okay.
they're both affected from different
So
things.
the grape is developing to the same thing,
Right.
basically, but for different reasons. Okay.
It gets really nitpicky as to why
Okay.
one became the other
Okay.
and that kind of thing. So. All right, so let's jump back out because there were no good pictures of the Torres family wine group
Okay.
for the thing. So we're going to talk about the Torres family. So the winemaker, I said it was the same one, the Torres family wine group. Actually, they own both of these wineries, even though they're in the different regions. 5 generations owned. Began in 1678 with just one little winemaker near a railroad. And they just, but it was, so this is in 1678, they began making wine. In 1963, they sent their first descendant to go for genealogical studies in France. So that's how long it took before they said, okay, time to learn about some modern winemaking and not just do what we've always done. And
It just seems like maybe that would be more than 5 generations. I mean, you're talking 300 years.
yeah, well, that's
Unless you're having your children at 60 years old.
all I can say is they said 5 generations.
Okay, well, there you go.
So,
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
so 1999 named the most important winemaker in Spain from Wine Spectator magazine.
Wow.
Green Company of the Year for Spain from Drink Business magazine in 2010. So they're implementing some wonderful new, energy guidelines and sustainability and that kind of a thing. So, and by the way, they've expanded during this time because they are a big company at this point. But they came from an origin that is truly indicative of a real love of the winemaking, winemaking itself and the wine business in general. They actually make wine now in Spain, Chile, and California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're big guys, but they do have a true core origin and family that loves wine and knows wine. So, and I think these are great wines, so that makes sense to me. We can jump over and talk about ratings, and then we can talk about preference.
Okay.
So, like I said, both of these guys are talking about 92 points. One of them actually pulled a 93 in a vintage as well. So they're calling these guys outstanding. Like we don't have to worry about what's the difference between 91 and 93. They're throwing them the outstanding quality, especially when you're talking about wines that here we are drinking wines that are one of them sub 20.
Wow.
You know, and sub $20 dollars a bottle.
Yeah.
And the other one sub 25.
Not scared.
Yeah. Thank you for the incredulity on your face, Julie, because you
Brian was like, wow. I was like,
I thought you were
no.
talking about like Night Train Express or something for a second.
right, exactly. Less than 20 points.
Yeah.
No. So 92 plus points
For
on both of
them.
these guys.
Mhm.
Incredibly reasonably priced, which is something wonderful about Spain. I mean, they're a great buy. They're really compatible with the American style. I sell a lot of Spanish wine.
Mhm.
I had someone come in recently in the industry who looked at Spain and said, "Oh, the Spanish section. So you don't do much with that. You just have it there." And I said, "No, I sell a lot of Spanish wine." My customers, thankfully, are
Yeah.
willing to listen to us, and they understand the flavor, the quality, and the price point are everything is going for it in Spain. Fantastic wines. So let's go with first. I think we'll jump back and we'll do personal preference on which one you preferred, and then we'll say, but then we'll go into what do you think for your. We'll give it the Tipple's crew number rating. So.
Okay. So just like,
Can I offer us like a fun suggestion that you can totally shut down?
sure.
So I think we all know which one we like better. What if Jeff has to guess which one we think we like? And if he gets more than half of them right, then he gets to pick the wine of the week in 2 weeks. But if he gets more of half of them wrong, then we get to pick the style that we want in 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Okay, that's good because next week's already chosen. So that's
Right. That's why I went with 2 weeks.
That sounds good.
I like it. So
I think
he
everybody
can't
here's
guess
a regular. So I feel like you have our tastes really well.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. He can't guess mine because I just grabbed which bottle I liked better. So he would be cheating with mine. So he's got do you want to go around like in our order or?
I think that overall, the preference would be for the Celeste.
Okay. You're going to go person by person?
All right. Well, no.
No? You just overall.
Yeah.
Okay. Overall, he thinks Celeste. So, okay.
All right.
So we'll go like,
That's right.
we'll go from our screen, I guess, in order. So we can keep track.
That's true. That'll be.
Call it out. We'll answer.
All right. So, Dr. Fricker, which one do you prefer?
Celeste.
All right. Heyo.
Okay.
All right. Kristen Robin.
Celeste.
All right.
For both of you?
And also Celeste. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm drinking. Yes, Celeste.
All right. Excellent. All right. Julie and Brian.
I like the Celeste.
I struggle with this when it was cold. Like when it first came out, I would have chose the Celeste, but as it warmed up, I think I preferred the other one because it's easier to drink, and I had trouble like telling them apart. So I'm not choosing the Celeste. I'm going with the other one.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Brenda
Get
and
to pick a
Laura.
white wine in 2 weeks.
No, it's honestly,
There's John. We can
easier
see
to
just
drink.
I can see a little bit of
tiny part
John.
his face. There we go.
Well, we like the Rioja first, but after having them open for a while, I think I like the Celeste better.
Yeah, they changed.
They changed.
They do.
Yes.
Um,
Are all three of you are Celeste now?
All three of us.
I'm
Celeste?
doing
Oh no,
Rioja.
he likes the
Right now is Rioja.
Rioja.
Okay.
Okay.
And Linda, who's in the Panhandle and whose computer froze up, said she likes the Rioja.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So here we go.
All
Okay.
right. And now Linda and Paul.
I actually like the Rioja better.
Mm.
So I realize I am going against
No, I think
popular.
it seems tied.
It's not, but it's close.
It's close.
For me, Rioja, but
Okay.
yes, this one was better.
What about you, Paul?
I'm with her.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. Snyder Group.
3 for the Celeste and 1 for the Rioja.
Okay.
Okay.
I love this. I think this is fantastic.
Rioja, and Julie, I was surprised that you liked the Celeste, Julie. I thought you were going to say the Rioja.
I just feel like the flavor's heavier in the Celeste, and I just like the bold flavor.
More full body.
Yeah, but I do like the tannins in the Rioja. Like the tannins grip me, and I like that. But I like the more full body of the Celeste.
Yeah, I like the other one for the opposite. I wanted it to be more drinkable and more smooth. I don't like the full body. I like the more smooth, drinkable wine. So that's why I did not choose the blue one.
I hear what you're saying, Brian, and definitely don't know what I'm talking about, but I feel like this is more bold, and this is why I like the Rioja, and so I thought Elizabeth would like this, and I was confirmed by Linda. So I feel like this has got, it's bolder. I mean, I feel like, okay, I feel like this is bolder. I feel like this is New World, and this is Old World, and I definitely don't know what I'm talking about, but you know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying. Are you aerating yours?
No.
No, we usually aerate. Well, we usually aerate ours with our pour, and what we need is one more object in our kitchen. So we're getting a decanter because what I need is one more appliance. But amen.
Because when we first tasted the two, I was 100% Rioja, but as it's opened up, I switched.
What we do.
All right, Hogsets.
Go ahead.
This is a rough one because I go back and forth. I'm with you, Julie. I like the Rioja, the Celeste opened up, but I love the tart cherry in the Rioja.
Yeah, I like the Celeste. I wouldn't throw either one of them down the drain. I mean,
No.
almost like apples and
there is no
oranges
loser.
because they're both good. But if you're at a party long enough, the Celeste would get even better, I'm sure.
So
They both get good.
we have Linda's already that she's in the panhandle. What about Cheryl and Consuelo?
Yeah.
Do you want to put it in the chat box or take the mic? I don't want to not let them vote.
Right. If you guys want to vote Cheryl or
It's
Consuelo, let us know. Otherwise, we'll be happy to finish up.
Okay, and I'm putting mine down. Mine is here. So, well, you didn't know because I grabbed the. Okay,
Yeah.
so. And unfortunately, we can't tell if anybody's typing. In Blackboard, you could, but in Zoom, you can't. So if it suddenly pops up, the score may change, but
Right.
you want to give the score?
The score.
Well, hold on. First, this is my vote.
Yeah, she
I
voted
like
for the
I
Rioja.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I was going to say, I agree with Rachel and Harriet.
Right.
But
look,
I like the
they're
taste
both,
of it.
like I said at the beginning, they're both great.
Yeah, they
I
are.
love them.
Mhm.
I do love the Ribero del Duero style.
Mhm.
And so that, pulls
So
my
that's
vote.
the Celeste then,
That's
right?
the Celeste,
Mhm.
which is what I went with.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to vote.
I'm just saying that was my preference.
Okay.
And I won by a whole vote.
You did win.
Oh, 2 votes.
You won by 2 votes. It was
2 votes.
10-8. So
You guys are drinking the weirdest stuff in 2 weeks. Oh my.
That's what I was saying. I swore Brian voted for the red just so that he could pick a white wine in 2 weeks.
I will say I honestly was surprised that I like the Celeste more because I feel like I generally trend more toward old world.
Yeah.
Or like kind of old world wines in new world locations, like a lot of South American wines. And for some reason, the Celeste, I think, came out strong for me. I think the Rioja has gotten better as it's opened up. And so, like, over the last, we've had it open for over an hour and a half now. So, over time, the Rioja has, like, really caught up to it.
Yeah.
But the Celeste, I think, started out strong and stayed that way. But that really surprised me.
Yeah, the Celeste hasn't changed much to me, but the Rioja, when we first opened it, I wasn't super crazy about it. I said that it had a quality. But I wasn't sure what the quality was. But I think it's really, really good now, to the point where, like, as people were discussing, I was like, oh, wait, but hold on. Do I like this one more? I think they're both really, really good. And we have like a snack board, and I think they go with kind of semi-different foods, which also has been fun to pair them.
Right.
Sure.
That's great. Good point, Rob.
I like the tartness of the Rioja. So,
Well,
yeah.
I
I like the other one.
I
but
am
like this one
so
better.
happy that it was close.
Yeah.
I am. I'm so happy because I really love them both.
Right.
I mean, it's not like, oh, and yeah, the Iberico's. I love the Iberico's. It's a great wine.
Right.
I would drink that every day. That's fine. I just do like kind of that Ribero Duero.
Sure. We'll see.
kind of
And
change,
if Cheryl and Consuelo had voted for the Rioja, which we don't know, it
Right.
would have been tied.
It would have been tied. That's right.
Yeah.
well, now we go back to the slides and we'll see what I wrought.
Okay.
What are you doing? What are you guys doing for next week?
Okay.
We'll finish
Ready?
up. All right. So, by the way, I think across the board, 92 points is really reasonable. We're talking about very reasonably priced wines that are absolutely delicious. Great qualities. They definitely have character. Well made. Good for them. Like, applause to those guys. I
Yeah.
think they're great.
The Torres family.
Torres. Next week we're drinking white.
There you go, Brian.
All right.
Wine bar.
You guys have to hang with me here. This is going to be really, really cool. We are drinking a Kremer. What?
Have I ever had
All right.
that?
So no, you have not.
Check when I have to
It
start.
sounds
This.
fun.
It is a German created.
Oh, I was
Yes,
right.
you're totally right. White wine. It is a hybrid of Riesling. It is dry,
Okay.
so it is not
Because
sweet.
I hear German Riesling and go,
Right.
oh no.
So we'll talk a bit more about it. It is dry. It's got wonderful minerality. It is German. It is Californian.
Oh wow.
Oh, and by the way, do you remember your first favorite wine when we bought Tipple's?
No.
The Sidebar Red Blend.
Oh, was it?
Yes,
Okay.
the Sidebar Red Field Blend.
Okay.
Which they sadly don't make anymore.
Ah,
But you love that wine. Sidebar makes beautiful wines.
I like the label too. It's very cool looking.
So they that actually is it's Ramey Wines. Ramey is an amazing winemaker. These are the ones that are sourced from outside of his vineyards.
Vineyard? Okay.
But how much Kremer is running around California. Anyway, this guy, sushi, shrimp scampi, seafood Alfredo, white fish dishes. I would
Like grouper.
Right. I would love this with my favorite paisanos. The shrimp.
Oh, yeah. What is it that you get from Paisanos?
It's got a rosé. It's an Italian creamy rosé sauce because it has the acidity to go through it,
Okay.
and yet it's white, so you want it to be with seafood. It is delicious. I had everyone scratching their heads on this guy that was tasting it.
Okay. What does
But-
that mean? Everyone was
In the
scratching.
form of, this is delicious. I've never tasted anything quite like it.
Oh, okay.
So that is what we are going to have next week. I hope you guys will come back and join us. Since I got my winnings and you all have to come, I am going to put that on next week. You must come. I don't care if you've never heard of this grape. Let's jump back. It's really good. You guys will love it. It's really great. I'll ask Julie and Brian the question I'm going to ask in a minute.
Okay, wait. So as you were seeing, because at first Celeste started out like well ahead.
Yes.
So as it was getting higher and higher
Mm-hmm.
on the Rioja side, were you getting scared you were going to lose?
Never sweating it.
It's very confident.
That's right.
over here.
I know what's going on.
Okay.
No, my choice was
Right.
it was just one or the other. Honestly, while you guys were all voting and I'd already voted and told you guys what I wanted, I was drinking the Ibericos thinking, do I think that? I was just like Robin. I was exactly like Robin. Yeah. Honestly, they're just different and they're so
Sure.
good. So, all right.
I was supremely confident that Julie and you, Jeff, would go with the Celeste.
Yeah.
That one, I was like, I would stake anything on that one. But
I thought Julie was going to go with the Ibericos.
Chris, you have forsaken me.
I genuinely loved them both. When we opened the first one, I just looked at Brian, I was like, yes, I love this. And it's just easy drinking, light. I think I said that when we first opened it, fruit forward,
Right.
not too sweet. I loved it. But then as the blue, I keep calling it the blue, the Celeste opened up, I just loved it more.
Mhm.
And I
I
don't know
love
that I
it.
would have, when we first tried the Celeste, I don't think I would have said that because I'd already had almost a full glass of the Rioja. I was like, I love this.
And
And
the
I tried
Rioja,
the Celeste and I was like, this is good too. But as they opened, I was like, okay, I like this more.
right.
Yeah, could have went both ways for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I went back and forth as you were explaining the regions and everything. And I was trying to find a main characteristic that I could like say, okay, I choose this one above that because of this characteristic. And the characteristic that I chose was just like, I feel like the Rioja was just a little bit easier to drink. It's like the same alcohol percentage, a little bit smoother. So that's why I liked it. You know, it wasn't super intense. You know, I just thought it was easier to drink. So that's why I chose it.
I think it is easy to drink. It'd be a good party wine, except you'd go through a lot of bottles.
Yeah.
But it is a very drinkable wine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is, and I'm so happy about how close it came down to,
Yes.
because we came in and really the whole description was, here we are, same grape, you know, same
points.
ABV, same
Mhm.
points. And here we have basically a complete split decision.
Yes.
There's-
I mean, same country,
Right.
so close within the country
Sure.
too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, but there is a very distinct flavor difference
Mhm.
between the two, but both so delicious.
Right.
You know, it's just, yeah. So anyway, all right. Cheers. Thank you guys for joining us again this week with our nice battle royale. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.